To you, I'm just a nail, a common, ordinary, boring nail. It's true, being a nail can be very boring. You get melted and molded and made. Then you're dumped into a box with a pile of other nails. And then you wait and wait. You lie around in a pile waiting for someone to pick you up to use you. Then there are a few glorious moments, or at least until you wear out. Sounds boring, doesn't it?
But don't be fooled. Nails have dreams too. Great dreams. Maybe I'll be used to build a palace, a monument, a drawbridge. You didn't know that nails could dream, did you? No, people think we're just boring. Or worse, they talk about being so angry they could spit nails. Now, how do you think I like that? Or they say, someone's as hard as nails. I guess I don't mind that one so much. We are pretty hard-headed.
We usually do have to get hit on the head with something before we do what we're supposed to do. But then again, some people are like that too, aren't they?
Oh, but anyway, you want to hear about that awful day? Or was it an awesome day? Well, I was just resting on the pile with the other nails when a soldier came over and reached into the box and grabbed 3 of us. He wasn't particular which one of us he grabbed. See, I'm not special. Any nail could have done it.
But my hopes were high for a few moments. I thought I was going to finally be used in an important way. As soon as my head was out of the box, my dream was shattered. I could see that there was a horrible event taking place. It was what they called a crucifixion, a horrible, cruel way of punishing the worst sort of criminals, killing them on a cross. I guessed that they needed us to hold a cross together.
No, that's not what I'd waited all this time for. But that was just the beginning. It got even worse than I could have imagined. I realized that the cross had already been nailed together. That's not how they intended to use me. No, I realized they needed me to hold a human being to the cross, to nail a person to the cross. That's how it was sometimes done. Most often they tied the criminals to their cross, but this time they were nailing this guy to the cross.
It was a terrible way to die. I heard the crowd shouting and yelling, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Some cried and screamed, "He's guilty of no crime. He's innocent. You can't kill an innocent man. What if he was innocent? I'd be involved in a terrible injustice. I would rather crumble into a pile of rust and disappear into the dust again than do that. What if he really was innocent?
Next, the soldier carried me over to a cross lying on the ground. There was a man lying on the cross, his arms outstretched, his eyes looking up into the sky. He didn't look like a criminal. What if he really was innocent? I thought. And his hands, they were wide open. They weren't clenched in anger or fear. They were open and relaxed, as if they were inviting me to hold him to the cross.
Before I could think twice, my point was pushed against the palm of the man's hand. That was a horrible moment. But when I touched him, I knew in a moment that this hand had enough power in it to resist any nail. There was a strength beyond description, beyond anything you could imagine in that one open hand. A strength that could bend me in submission in a moment, if that's what he wanted to do.
And at the same time, there was a softness, not weakness, mind you. I do know the difference. A softness, what human beings call love. There was a warmth there, almost an invitation to touch him, and even to be driven through his hands and feet into the rough wood of the cross.
But there was something else, too. There was something familiar about him. I couldn't place it at first, but then it hit me. This hand felt very much like one I had felt before. Then I remembered. Years ago, I was in the nail box of a carpenter. That's right, waiting to be used by him. Well, his son, who worked with him, reached into the box one day and pulled me out.
Just as he was about to strike me with a hammer, someone came up to him and told him news about a prophet, John somebody, who was baptizing people nearby. And when the carpenter's son heard that, he got very excited and said something very confusing. He said, "It's time to be about my father's business." He dropped me back into the box, turned and left the shop, and headed out toward the wilderness that very hour.
Why would he say he was going to be about his father's business and then leave his father's shop, his business, and head across country? And where had he been since then? And why was he here now? What had he done to deserve this? And did he deserve it? Or was he innocent?
Oh, back to that horrible afternoon. Just then, a heavy hammer struck me on the head and drove me into that powerful open hand. I shuddered. I broke no bones as I passed through. Isn't that strange? And then I held him to the cross through the whole ordeal as he got weaker and weaker and heavier and heavier. I heard him cry out.
Then finally, his breathing stopped. They say he died quickly. That 3 hours was all it took. But those were the longest 3 hours of my life. Then it was over. They lifted him down from the cross. I was pulled from the cross and from his lifeless hand, and I was tossed aside.
Now, the weather and time are taking their toll on me. I don't mind. I began as dust, and I'm returning to dust. That's just the way it is with nails. At least there's some comfort for me. I know that even though I held his hands and feet on the cross, it wasn't me who put him there. That loving, innocent man.
It was your sins that nailed him there. But the best news is that it was his love for you that kept him there. And he will hold on to you with those same powerful, loving hands, no matter what.
One day, you will die. Your body will turn to dust, just as I will. But he will keep holding on to you until finally he brings you to a place where there are no crucifixions, no hatred, no injustice, no rude or selfish treatment of your fellow man. Only the warmth that I knew briefly, just moments in my life.
That's what he was talking about when he said, I must be about my Father's business.
That's my story. That's the way I witnessed what happened that day. And you must remember. The point is that it happened because of you. And more importantly, for you. And if you think he did it because he loves you, well, you've hit the nail right on the head.